I'm just going to move on to jigging. Jigging is, and it's really was, I mean, spooning and dropping jigs has been around for a long time, but I think that the spectral fiber lines really, and the spectral fiber lines first and then the reels made it more possible to jig and catch bigger fish at greater depths that were never achievable before. Because before, to try and drop down 200 gram jig with 100 pound line, you'll never get to the bottom fast enough. You'd be off the mark too quickly. Sorry, this is not my leader. Somebody tied this on at the factory. But normally, I would tie a very short bimini twist like that, and then have a short leader with the inverse Albright knot. But jigging is like really, it's really hard work. I don't have to tell anybody here that's tried it, okay? So the main thing about these rods is to make sure that you get a comfortable rod, you know, that they're short. Shouldn't be really much longer than 6 foot, because then they start to hurt you. Unless you get one, some of them have a shorter butt that you can actually go into the gimbal, but most of them are fished under the arm, and they stay really under the arm. So when you are fighting fish, you don't go to the gimbal, because you're going to have probably a 70% chance of breaking the rod, because you change the whole parameter of the rod when you go to that position. So they're under the arm, and it's virtually almost like a stand-up outfit, because you wind down and step with your knees, and you bend. You use your knees to pull the fish up, not really the rod. That's why it's under your arm, and it's locked in there, and so you wind down and then pull up. And because it's high energy, it's lots of hard work, and normally the average depth is from 60 to 100, so some people even jig 150 meter water. So you need to stay in the strike zone with the least amount of energy. So one of the I think is the most essential part of your equipment is space print braid or multicolored braid. And there's many different ones on the market. This is Suffix, I don't know if it's Matrix Pro or True Braid, but they normally are spaced in 5 meter intervals with different colors, and distinctly different colors that you can easily see. So when you get to an area and you've identified the fish sitting on a reef or a drop-off, and that's where you're going to do the drift, you identify the fish are in a column of water that's maybe 5 meters off the bottom, and it's maybe 5 meters deep. You don't want, and you say you're at 60 meters, you don't want to be winding that, dropping it down, winding that spoon 60 meters. You only want to be winding that spoon the 5 meters off the bottom, and then the 5 or 10 meters, that's the column of the fish, and then drop down again and come through the fish again. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time and your energy, winding it all the way to the top and then dropping it down. And that's what space print braid allows you to do. So once you've dropped down and you see how the fish are in that column of water, maybe you want to make it one more color. So you only wind 4 colors or 3 colors. And then you know that you've gone through the fish, dropped down again. And it allows you to get more drops on a drift than if you're winding up and down the whole length. So that's one of the most important things. Secondly is, because this is high energy, the most essential part of your kit for jigging should be a pair of split ring pliers, because you want to be changing these jigs quite regularly. 1 for color and 2 for weight, because you want to use the optimum spoon for the conditions. In other words, you don't want to be jigging with a 400 gram spoon if you can get away with jigging with a 200 gram spoon. So you have to start off with the heavier ones and then work your way down, and that'll all depend on, 1, the depth that you're jigging at, 2, the current or the wind speed, and the speed of basically the speed of your drift. So that's why all these spoons are rigged with split rings. The other thing is that the clip goes in the solid ring, because that allows, there's no leverage with the spoon. The fish is direct onto the solid ring. The spoon is free on the split ring. And that split ring allows you to change the spoons out with a pair of split ring pliers. So that's the one definite thing, is to use the optimum spoon for the conditions to save yourself energy. Secondly, people ask, why are there different styles of spoon? This is what they call like a butterfly style jig. It's an asymmetrical spoon, but shorter, more like a pilchard style. And these are easier to work than these. They're much, much easier to work. But these, sometimes when you've got a very fast current or a drift, you have to use these long knife spoons because they sink much faster. These tend to have a slower sink, and they have a much easier, less stroke and effort to make it get them to flutter. But the disadvantage of they don't sink as fast. So if you're in a high current or high wind situation, these are they're not really suitable because you're not going to be able to get to the bottom of it. But they are, if you have the condition where you can use them, these are much easier to use because you don't have to have that real hard action. These are much slower jigs. Actually, the Williamson one works even just as well if you just wind it up. If you just wind it fast through your fish column, it will fish as well as this one here that you're jigging and sweating. This is what they call kabura jigging. It was a Japanese commercial secret for many years, and the guys found out about it, and they brought it out now into the recreational fishing. Once again, this is a completely different system to your speed jigs. What I call these things is a 21st century bucktail jig, because basically that's what it is. It's the same. These old bucktail jigs still are very, very good as well. If somebody said to me, pack a survival kit for a yacht trip around the world, I'd make sure I've got 5 or 6 bucktail jigs in my fishing kit. And these are fished exactly the same way as those. These are fished very slow, almost like you would be dancing a worm on the bottom of a dam for bass fishing, for example. Just very slow action like that. And what happens with these is that they are imitating cuttlefish and squid patterns, and the fish actually come up and inhale it and actually suck them. That's why they've got pretty small hooks. And people say to me, oh, but the hook's not big enough. But it's because it's a different thing. With this, the fish actually attack these squids, because when you bring them up, most of the time it's eaten on a flutter as it drops down, because no fish really eats a fish that way. It eats a fish this way. So most of the time your strikes are on as you've jigged up, and it goes like that. That's when the fish comes and eats it. Recently, there's been a swing with poppers. Guys have started experimenting with them more and more and more. And you won't believe that this is probably one of the best yellowfin lures you can use. You know, tuna lures, when you're chunking for tuna and you're just sitting on the top and you're drifting, guys throw these poppers now and they actually hammer the yellowfin with them. Back at home, we can't get enough of these in South Africa at the moment. The guys are just buying these things. So the Williamson ones that we've made, these ones are it's a keel strip lure, and at the back, I don't know if you've seen a lot of the Japanese poppers. They have a willow blade on the back of them. That's to stop the popper from jumping over itself when you pop it in the water. So what we did is we've actually got a design on the back. It's a bulbous design to keep the tail down when you pop. So that allows us to put another hook on the back. All of them are rigged with extra heavy oval split rings. They've got, on the small one like this, the 5-inch one, it's got 200-pound stainless steel swivels, and they all have 6 extra strong trebles. The bigger 7-inch one's got a 300-pound swivel. But just for something new, if you're sitting there and you're chunking for tuna and you're bored, get out a stick with some braid on, a popping rod, and throw these. You'll be surprised what you catch.